Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED, AM and FM this weekend. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. And again, thanks for joining us here as November rolling around of 2014. Lots of stuff going on. The holiday season underway. Thanksgiving is the next big event coming up. And more than anything, hope you'll stay active and enjoy what time you've got here and all the lots of good things we have in the Rogue Valley, because we say every year that's why we live here, right?
Yeah, transitioning to the snow type events and the winter activities. But yeah, there's always lots to do like that.
Next week, we're off the KMED auction. In 2 weeks, we're back with Bob Gervais, and we'll do a RE/MAX market watch. Those new stats will be out. We'll update you on that and what's going on in real estate activity throughout Jackson and Josephine County, because even though we say it slows down, this time of the year, Joe, it's still pretty busy.
Stop.
I mean, it doesn't stop. And I think that's the thing that I think people don't realize. It goes year-round. There's always activity going on. Well, who better to talk to us today about what's going on than Brad Bennington? He's the CEO of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County and is part of the Real Estate Show, and we of course, appreciate that and enjoy that so much every time we get together with Brad. In the home building, you look at it, and there's still, from where we started our show 6 years ago, Joe, from where we are today, and the first time we had Brad on our show many years ago, he was a gloom and doom guy. I will never forget that.
Didn't have a lot of home building to talk about.
There was not much to talk about, and boy, have times changed, and for the betterment, for the economy, for jobs, for people, and for for housing, because we know without housing you really got problems, and we've had that here. That was a true statement, wasn't that?
Well, let's be fair here. I think maybe if anything, I was kind of the Harry Truman of the home building. They used to tell Harry Truman, "Give him hell, Harry," and he says, "I'm just telling them the truth, and they think it's hell."
Yeah, that's right.
So that's all we were doing a few years ago, is just telling people the truth, and the news was a little challenging, but. The good news is that we're making our way through. We're seeing our housing market gain a little bit of altitude and airspeed, and as long as we can keep fuel going in the tanks, I think we'll continue to do that. But there's a whole area of construction that's a lot more interesting to people than new home construction. And that's remodeling construction. And one of the things that's really been helpful is the lenders have stepped forward, and they said, for well qualified homeowners, hey, we've got money for you. So we're seeing a lot of improvement in the remodeling market, and I like to remind people that the Home Builders Association is not just interested in new home construction, but we also furnish a lot of educational resources and education resources for remodeling as well.
Well, it seems like in this time of the year, when the weather changes, that you turn inward and you say, "What can I do in my house?" And that's what I do every winter. I come do some project in my house, and it's extended for 7 years now, but I'm actually almost done.
Oh, it's come a long way.
Almost done, which is surprising. But I've had, a licensed contractor has helped me all the way through that thing, which I've learned that from Brad, is that you better hire a licensed contractor, and it's well worth, don't wait for, I know a guy kind of thing who can do that for you. Remember how, I know a guy, he can help us. I know a guy, he can come in and do this for you. And I know a guy, he'll fix that electric thing. Don't do that. I mean, that's really not very well.
Real estate has taught us to deal with licensed contractors.
Oh, yeah, and doing it the right way, because it doesn't matter where you think you're going to get away with it at the beginning, at the front. When someone comes to do an inspection, when you want to sell it, that thing that you thought you got away with then isn't going to quite get away with at the end of the thing. And I find that all the time. Anyway, so when in the terms of remodeling or just fixing up your houses and stuff, are the home builders a resource? I mean, how can I find? Because I was telling Joe this the other day, in our office, at John L. Scott anyway, and I'm sure other officers are the same way, people are always asking or writing emails, etc. Or do you know a qualified person who can do this? Do you know a person, I need a roofer to do this? I need to, it's probably the number one question asked by real estate brokers, and look how many hundreds of us there are,
and how many hundreds of deals go down,
and how many times you need that. And it's so funny, because I found myself this week, and I'll just tell you one thing, is that I needed an electrician to do some work on a house.
Oh my God!
And I said, now, I've never had to have an electrician. So how do I find somebody who can do what I need to have done off this home inspection, because this sale is not going to go through unless this is done.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's not as easy as you think to find someone. No matter what anybody says, that's not easy. And I look to the home builders to say, okay, can you help me do that? Can you?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we've got guys in your market that are qualified, and I think we got you pointed the right direction. But it really is important for people to understand a couple things about remodeling. You know, what the contracting firm that you pick is really, really important, because the amount of damage that they can do is not limited to the scope of the contract. Let me explain. Just because someone might think they're getting a good deal because they got a guy that'll work for $5 or $6 less an hour than this other guy to do a $500 job, it might only be a $500 job, but if something goes sideways on that job, that could wind up costing you $10,000 or more. I mean, it's happening. One of the really big problems is that oftentimes the damage is not discovered until the timeline gets far enough down the road that really a remedy gets really, really expensive. When water penetrations happen, when people don't, if someone works on a roof, if they don't seal it up correctly, if they don't use the proper products, if they don't use the proper procedures, it is really not hard at all to create a $10,000 problem that doesn't show up for 2 or 3 years down the road. Mm-hmm. And there's absolutely no recourse for the homeowner at that point. And the other thing that happens is that that can happen and has happened. If you invite an unlicensed contractor to come on your property, you are inviting a liability. Mm-hmm. For instance, and let's just do
liability.
Let's just talk about your typical roof repair. Roof repair might be $1,500. So you get XYZ contractor, and instead of looking him up on the construction contractor's website, which takes you about maybe 5 minutes if you're slow, and finding out if he's a licensed contractor, you just go ahead and hire the guy. He loses his footing, he falls off your roof, injures himself, breaks his back, or worse, and you know what? You own that guy, because he is not a licensed contractor and he does not have his own liability insurance.
So if I have my guy or Joe's guy come do work for me and he injures himself,
oh boy,
he's not covered because he's not a licensed contractor. I'm responsible as a homeowner for that.
You are his cover.
That would not be good.
Man,
I can't think of anything good coming out of that thing.
That just put a kibosh on my home improvement project.
Yeah, well, tell that guy he's not coming in. He can't come over and do that work. Yeah.
And if this unlicensed contractor that you have invited on your property to do work, if he invites other contractors to come on that property as well, you own each and every one of those contractors, because he is the person through which you have done your business agreement. Mm-hmm. So there's just a couple of really, really practical reasons why you want to work with a licensed contractor. And let me give you one more. This is something a lot of people don't know. Federal law requires that if you have a home that is older than 1978, if you're going to disturb more than 6 square feet outside or 4 square feet inside, it has to be a licensed lead-based paint renovator, certified renovator to do the work. Mm-hmm. And this is a federal law.
But now if I do it myself, right, if I'm doing the work myself, I don't have to do that, correct?
If it is your residence.
Right, my own residence.
If it's your residence and if you're doing the work yourself, you are exempt from that law.
But if I own a place, if I have a rental, for example, that kind of thing,
right.
And I have to, again, do what? Now tell me that again.
If you're going, if the structure is built before 1978.
And there's a lot of them out there.
There's a lot of them. Right. And it doesn't, and the test as far as the law is concerned is not even if there's actually any lead-based paint anywhere on the structure. The test is when was it built?
Right.
Because
you're right.
Because as part of the program, the first thing that the certified renovator does is test. So it doesn't even, lead paint doesn't even have to be there. It just has to be built before 1978. Anything that disturbs more than 6 square feet of surface area on the outside or 4 square feet on the inside has to be a certified lead-based paint renovator.
Okay.
4 square feet's pretty small for any inside project there. It's pretty stringent.
Doggone small, let me tell you.
Are all licensed contractors able to do this?
No.
Is that part? So I have to get an extra person. So you're actually adding more.
No, they just have to have the lead-based paint certification.
Right. So any contractor, and we offer education. Fortunately, one of our members, Steve Asher, is a certified lead-based paint instructor.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually one of two in if you go south of Eugene, he's one of only two in the state.
Okay, wow.
There aren't many of these guys around. We have one, Steve Asher, and we regularly do these classes. And once again, I can't say this often enough to your listeners. Go to the Construction Contractors Board website. Just Google CCB Oregon. That's all you have to do. CCB Oregon. It'll pop up. Search contractor. You can search by name or you can search by license number. If you're ever going to contract with anybody, make sure that you get their name and their license number, their contractor's license number. It'll pop right up. You can see if they're active, and you can see if they have that lead-based paint certification. It's right there on the website.
I always wonder if these things is it overkill? You know, remember the polybutylene plumbing thing that agents had to go through, and you had to know that. The wood stove thing, I guess, is another one. Is it overkill with lead-based paint? I mean, I've heard all sorts of different. Do you know? I mean, you've been around that. I mean, it's something we should follow. I suppose it's the law, and I don't want to say not to do it. But
it's not just law; it's federal law. So it's administered through the Oregon Construction Contractors Board. So if you live, like I live in Jacksonville, you live in Ashland. Both those communities have some pretty old structures in them, and we live in an area where we have lots of homes that were built pre-1978. So if all it is you're just going to have a lead-based paint certified guy come out and test, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that you're going to do some remodeling. Just have it tested, and they'll test where the work's going to be done. And if there is no lead-based paint there, then you're good.
Do they test it right there? Do they have to send it to a lab and you get it back a week later? Do you know?
We can the testing methods that we have will show whether there's lead right there.
So I'm going to know. So if I bring somebody in to do that, I'm going to know right then whether or not I got a problem or I have lead-based paint in this thing.
There are some situations where maybe something might have to go to the lab, but the testing methods that we have now, they're very quick, they're very easy to do, and they're very certain. They're not, in other words, they're not ambiguous. It's like, well, I wonder if it is or I wonder if it's not. It's really clear on whether you have that or not. Then the other thing is that if you do have it, God bless you, but it's federal law. You either do what they say or you face the consequences of
And it goes back to your point on the inspection. When you go to sell the house, is there lead-based paint? You're going to have to go through all that disclosure as well anyway. So you might as well know what you're up against. And Well,
most people don't know those things in their homes. It's the same way with asbestos. You hear that, asbestos, I may have asbestos in the ceiling. If you've got a popcorn ceiling, chances are it's asbestos related. But as long as it stays there, it doesn't have to worry about it. Versus, what do I do with that? Is the lead-based paint seems to be the same kind of thing. As long as you don't disturb it, it's okay, right? But if you disturb it is where fumes, etc., begin to come out and that kind of stuff, right?
So we'll talk about the horror scenario, and then we'll talk about happy thoughts. But the horror scenario is, and the fines for this can be as high. And I'll just get this out of the way.
Have you seen fines people have gotten caught doing this?
Yes.
I mean, people have gotten caught.
Yeah, these are the published fines by the EPA. Certain procedures for violating this law result in fines of up to $15,000 per day.
Really?
Per day. Now, so the practical thing is you got a nice family. They hire this contractor, and maybe he's a licensed contractor in other ways. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's unaware of this lead-based paint rule. But again, it's administered by the CCB, and we have Oregon CCB inspectors frequently that come by our area, check things out when they see construction. They have the ability to go and look into these things. Let's just say that the contractor is not following the proper procedures. He gets cited. Let's say he gets a $10,000 fine. He's gone.
Have you seen that happen?
I haven't seen it happen in our market.
Okay.
I can tell you that there are situations in other markets, not our market right here, where that has happened. The contractors leave the job, and here are the people with the job half done. They've already spent X amount of money, and they are left in the middle of a mess.
In a big mess. Well,
in a big mess.
My friend Mark Severson, who is a licensed contractor, he was telling me that he was at a job, and he's got a big truck out front, and somebody came in to the work site and asked to see his contractor's license.
Yeah.
And I said, "What did you do?" He said, "Well, I had it in the car." He was just shaking. I said, but we talked about, do people really come in and inspect these things? Are there really follow-up to it, or is just a lot of hot air being blown and I'm not going to get caught? kind of thing. But from what I'm hearing, there is. I mean, you don't want to do that.
Well,
I mean,
CCB did a sting last fall here in Southern Oregon, and I think they handed out 115 citations.
Wow, really?
In about a week and a half. Yeah.
No. Say that website again, where people can check and see if they're licensed and active.
Yeah. Just Google CCB Oregon, and it'll pop right up. CCB stands for the Construction Contractors Board. It's a wonderful resource. It's easy to use. And it's the best defense you have against hiring an unlicensed
hiring
contractor.
one of those 115 guys.
Exactly.
Boy, that would be really a fine if you got. I mean, that would really that'd be bad, wouldn't it?
It's bad news with a capital B. I'll tell you.
You know what else catches my ear? I'm not a do-it-yourself guy. I'm not confident around my house taking on big projects, and some guys might be, but I got to think that you could get into the same kind of trouble that a poor contractor. Just by taking on more than you could bite off yourself.
It happens.
Yeah, always, doesn't it?
We're better to hire a helper.
We're talking about remodeling today in the Real Estate Show. We're with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys. Thanks for being with us today. We got lots more to go as we continue our discussion. This show repeats at 9 o'clock Sunday morning. We're coming right back after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. And thanks for being with us. There's lots going on around in our shows, Joe. Last week, we learned, some of the what did we learn from the drought? It's funny, we've gone from drought now to rain and coolness and everything, but what did we learn from the drought? And that was really interesting last week. And there's a demonstration project out at North Mountain Park in Ashland that people should go to see about non-pervious surfaces, how you can change from gas guzzling or water guzzling lawns to artificial kinds of surfaces. And there's a demonstration there. And I know you were with the Jackson County assessor a couple of weeks ago, right. Josh Gibson. And how was that? What did you have to say?
Good show. Things are continuing to reflect the rise in the property values and our property tax valuations.
Yeah.
Just very informative. I think people just really appreciate a chance to hear from Josh each year and kind of reiterate how the process works and how the appeals process works. But all in all, they're doing very well. And also, Mark Van Hawley and Chris Dubose were on with Frank Mania from Ticor Title 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Well, Mark Van Hawley just got a $100,000 boost to his efforts to bring economic development to the region from the Jackson County Board of Commissioners.
I read
Boy,
that.
we were talking about that on that show, that the table was kind of set, and that if he could get that ball rolling and get those matching grants that he needs now, I think that man is on the cusp of what's going to really help bring us together and move us forward in this region. His ideas are gaining traction, thank goodness, because he's a pretty sharp guy, and he's trying to rally troops and bring business and growth to us in the right ways.
And Brad Bennington, you were with Joe when Josh Gibson, the county assessor, was here, weren't you?
Yep.
And how do they? One of the questions I wasn't here, but
how do we
value those new homes? Because we're getting. Look at the statistic here. The last 3 months showed 63 new homes that were added to the thing. So, but these have to have a value on them. And did you guys talk about that with the assessor and that kind of thing as well?
Yeah, we did. We talked about the fact that new home construction is such a win-win for any community. For every dollar that's spent on new home construction, it has a positive ripple effect of 5 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only industry that really does that. And Josh and Joe and I talked about the fact that a rising tide lifts all ships.
Mm-hmm.
New homes help lift valuations, and rising valuations builds a tax base, and that tax base is what supports all the things that are so important. Supports our school funding, supports our libraries, supports all the funding that we need to successfully run our communities. And so we had, I think Joe led a real nice discussion on that. I would also say about the Mark Von Hawley and Frank Mania discussion on recruiting tech businesses, the home builders, we actually wrote a letter to the county commissioners in support of that.
Good for you.
Because, what we have a situation where we have all these wonderful young people that we educate, and they get out of high school, and some of them go to SLU, and then they leave because there aren't the jobs here that will support. They don't want to stay here and make no money while all their friends are in these other areas. Doing well financially.
Living the life.
Well, having decent jobs, a lot of them.
And having decent jobs. And so, we're really fortunate. We have county commissioners that are very business-minded, and they understand these things. So we've got So Ready on one side and So Ready working on the things that they work on. And then this new initiative to recruit high-tech businesses that are going to pay the kind of wages that our young people really need to want to stay here. Great idea.
Well, we'll see how they do with it. We wish him well with that.
And it's
Don't you
gaining
think?
traction. That's a real neat thing, is that he's gaining allies at every juncture here.
And my only thing is that everyone's trying to do that same thing. All communities, so many communities are trying to do that, and this makes it much more difficult.
And Mark had some great examples of Bend and some other communities in Washington that are, I mean, these businesses are literally flying over the top of Medford to these destinations as far as Spokane and Bend.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
They're traveling right up the interstate, right past us, and flying right over the top of us. And we could be as very attractive as a destination, I think, more so than Spokane or some places like that.
Or be a destination as we are for a retirement destination for this kinds of things, because we're close to California. Take advantage.
But we got to have, and we talked with Frank Mania too about the disparity, and Chris DeBose, the disparity of our job market and our home prices that are creeping up again, and the ability for those young families and first-time home buyers to get into the game. Boy, it's a wider void than it was. We're moving in the wrong direction, and we need those jobs and those wages to help close that gap.
Yeah, and that's and I will say one thing. We'll get off that topic, but Josh Gibson, to get back to the county assessor, I would just say that since he took over, remember he took over in a big mess a few years ago. He seems to have really righted that ship, and seems to have the assessor's office kind of working at least together, and kind of not having this controversy about values of this and that as we had before.
Sounds like he's really modernized, in that people are cross-trained now and have different skill sets that can complement one another and support one another in ways that they didn't before.
Yeah, the only thing is, Joe introduced me to Josh, and I'm going, does this guy even have a driver's license? They're looking younger and younger.
Here we are in the real estate show, introducing a Jackson County Planning Commissioner to the Jackson County Assessor.
You
guys probably ought to see each other a little more often.
Disconnect there somewhere.
Pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
That's right. Because Brad, we should got to say, has been a member of the Jackson County Planning Commission, and he's on the Jacksonville.
You want a list? Yeah.
I asked him this the other day because
he's in the election cycle this
I worry
this
about
week.
him. I worry about him doing too much. There's so much he's involved in many thing, and he comes with us too here on our show. And I know the home builders are his big passion and things, but there's so many other things so we appreciate that as well. Well, we're going to run out of time here, but remodeling, we get out of that and then we'll go on. But so how can people? Can the Home Builders Association help us when we want to find somebody who you recommend? Do you recommend people? Do you have just members, or how can somebody find the guy that needs to do the work?
How do I not find one of those other 115 guys?
I don't want one of those guys. Seriously, I mean, the liabilities you talk about, things like that. Whether you rent property, you own your own, you don't want to do that.
Well, what we do every day is it's our pleasure to find out what people's needs are for information. We're an information resource for the community. We're an educational resource for our professional community. And we're also an outreach resource for our local governmental officials and regulators and legislators. And that's where I work mostly. Most of my work is done with our county and state legislators, making sure that they get the message about new home construction. But if someone calls and has a question, what we do is I visit with them and find out what their need is, whether it's education. If they need a referral, what we'll do is we'll give them a range of things that they can look at. We don't recommend any particular contractor. That's not something that we can do. But we can recommend a range of resources where they can find the person that they need. And we also help them learn what they actually need to look for in a contractor based on the kind of work that they want to do.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to be able to go to the home builder's website and say, if I'm looking for this, and here's a list of people who are at least members. I mean, it's one of those things. If you're not a member of the group that your professional organization, how professional are you if you're not part of that? I mean, we just did that in restaurants, the same kinds of things, same way with construction, home building, all the kinds of things. If you're not part of the association, then you're not a professional as you should be, or you could be, and those kind of things.
Right. Well, we do the work that we do every day. If we have more members, more people, allowing us to have a bigger voice, that's better for everybody. But, we're still going to help. We're still going to provide our educational resources to whoever needs them, and we're happy to do that. But we really are. We're a resource. I remind people that we are a non-profit. All the revenue that comes into our organization, anything over and above what it actually takes to run our organization, all gets returned to the community. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think I mentioned earlier that
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Oh, we're
okay. I know what you're going to say.
So let me just talk a little bit about remodeling, because remodeling is something that everyone has something to do with at some point. Mm-hmm. And we have resources for people that are interested in remodeling. If you're interested in products, we can help you with that. If you're interested in practitioners, we can help you with that. If you are a remodeler, and if you're a practitioner, if you're a subcontractor or a contractor, if you get over your head into something that you're not quite sure what to do with, we can help you. We have all the educational resources to pretty much steer anybody where they need to go.
Know anything about incentives, rebates, government programs, helping with remodeling? Got any resources for me there?
We do, and we can point you to all those resources. And I'll tell you something you already know is that is a moving target because these incentives and these programs, they have inception dates and they have expiration dates. They have program limitations that'll run for a while and then they go away. Earlier we were talking about what we call RETCs. RETC is a residential energy tax credit. Those come in and out depending on the legislature. I have it on pretty good authority that with the incoming legislature, we're going to see some more RETCs again. So those
which are incentives for energy efficiency projects in your house.
Right.
There you go, Joe. Those windows right there.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. One of the RETC programs we had just a couple years ago would pay 50% of the cost of window replacement.
See, there really are. If you do a little shopping or know where to go, you can really enhance the value of your property, which is what our shows are all about, aren't they?
And can save yourself some money and get some help to do that as well. That's a bang for your buck right there.
All right, we got one more segment to go. We're with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Jackson County Home Builders. We're coming right back to the real estate show after this.
Hoping to sell a home in today's real estate market? Wondering if it's the right time to buy? Get the facts from RE/MAX.
RE/MAX Ideal Brokers is now part of the Real Estate Show. They're a full-service brokerage with offices in Medford and Grants Pass. Hey, you know what you want. We know how to make it happen. That's what makes RE/MAX an ideal partner. Learn more at idealbrokersinc.com.
Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX. Find out what RE/MAX can do for you. Where do you want to be? Each office independently owned and operated.
The purpose of the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District is to encourage good stewardship of land and water for rural and urban property owners. To achieve that, the district holds numerous classes throughout the year, and now is the time to sign up for them at jswcd.org. Many are taught by district staff and include topics like pasture and small woodlands management, soil types, and rain gardens. Popular natural resources day camps this summer. Find out more at jswcd.org. Most services are free. Knowledge gained, priceless.
All Cities Property Management is now part of the Real Estate Show. All Cities covers all phases in residential management of homes, condos, apartments, duplexes to fourplexes, and homeowner associations. For photos and visual tours of available properties, visit them online, allcitiesprop.com. Accurate accounting and tenant screenings, professionally done showings, and a full-time staff are all reasons why All Cities is #1 in owner and renter satisfaction. Call them at 245-8811.
At Ticor Title, we are experts at handling real estate transactions. Hello, I'm Shelley Culbertson, Sales and Marketing Manager for Ticor Title. From the simplest to the most complex real estate transactions, our staff is the reason customers continually turn to us for the reliability, responsiveness, and security they demand. Our title and escrow departments are structured to provide the highest level of customer service. We are committed to closing transactions quickly and efficiently.
Hoping to sell a home in today's real estate market? Wondering if it's the right time to buy? Get the facts from RE/MAX.
RE/MAX Ideal Brokers of Medford and Grants Pass invite you to take advantage of our residential, rural, and commercial real estate experts in the local markets. Visit us at idealbrokersinc.com to search for properties or find an agent.
Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX. Find out what RE/MAX can do for you. Where do you want to be? Each office independently owned and operated.
The Home Builders Association of Josephine County present the 36th Annual Spring Home and Garden Show this weekend at the Josephine County Fairgrounds in Grants Pass. Admission is only $3 and 16 and under are free. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Relay for Life. Top home improvement professionals will be available with money-saving ideas and the latest and greatest products to build, remodel, or rejuvenate your home and yard. Evergreen Federal Bank, McKenna Homes, Rogue Valley Heating and Air, Fields Home Improvement, Cabinet Crafters, IndoorAirman.com Energy Conservation Specialists. There's something for everyone at the Spring Home and Garden Show. In addition to all the great vendors, each day has something new. Saturday from 9 to 5, come check out the classic cars. Sunday from 10 to 4, bring the kids to see Annie the Clown, enjoy face painting, and much more. The Spring Home Show is this weekend at the Josephine County Fairgrounds in Grants Pass.
A flat tire can ruin your day, but an improper tire repair can put your family at risk. When that next pesky nail punctures your tire, remember this. Repairs are limited to the inner tread area only, never the sidewall. And punctured tires must be removed from the rim to assess and fix damage on both the inside of the tire and the outside. Learn more. Visit FeeTiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. And man, we've really learned a lot here in the last. Look what our listeners have learned in the last month from us. Frank Mania from Ticor was here. We're talking about that economic development, and then that happened.
The high-tech business, that was
right after that.
That was ahead of the scope.
We had the Jackson County Assessor Josh Gibson roll through here, and
right as everyone's property tax bill came out.
As soon as your tax bill came, and I still will tell you the $13.64 that I spend for the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District is still the best $13.64 I spend all year.
And I get it for $6.87 because I'm in Medford.
That just tickles me out of that. Anyway, so that's kind of a thing there. And then, of course, last week, we had JSWCD was in here. We learned how we survive the drought and plant tolerant things. And today, Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Home Builders Association, is here with us. And look what we learned about remodeling.
Brad comes with some pretty good stuff
that you got right up there. That's right up there with good information.
Wahoo buckaroo. You bet.
And if you ever quit, we won't have you back anymore. But so far, so good.
Yeah. So, remodeling is a big thing, but do it right. And the home builders are a good resource to go to. If they called your office, somebody will help them, correct?
You bet.
All
right. We love helping people and get them headed in the right direction. And the thing that a lot of people find out when they start getting back in, and I heard you make a few comments about all the interesting things you just learned about working on your own house.
Mm-hmm.
People do not understand how technical this business has become, and you really do need some help. So ask for some help. Asking sooner rather than later works better because the process goes better. And the public has a wonderful resource right here called the Home Builders, and we're glad to help.
Yeah, and that's what we've learned.
I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to ask for the person to hire to do all these things at my house.
To the hire. Well, that's what
find me that guy, not the guy that's going to fall off my roof and cost me money.
Just make sure that it's a licensed contractor,
right.
And they have lead-based paint. If your house isn't that old, so it
doesn't
really matter.
And go to what
76.
website? What website do we go to?
HBAJC.com.
CBC.
HBAJC.com. That's
.com.
our.
Okay, I was going to say .com. Okay, we're a nonprofit,
but we're still a .com. And then the website that people want to go to check out their contractors, it's just Google Oregon CCB. Oregon CCB. CCB stands for Construction Contractor. Has a very easy to follow website. You just type in the contractor's name or his license number, and all that information comes up. Make sure he's licensed. Make sure he's got his
I'm going to do it.
We're going to type in Mark
Sievers. I'm going to do that because
we'll type in Mark's license number. See what we get on him.
Well, we'll see what you find. But we'll see if it works. My big thing is these websites don't work. Yeah, people get onto them and get lost, and then they get frustrated and they get off of them. And that's really a problem in a lot of things. But anyway, before we get out of here, now the home builders, you would think, Home Builders Association, they're made up of home builders and lots of other people who are involved with them. But one of the things that I didn't know that they did is that they build a house. They build a house every year. Is that what this is about?
We do one about every year and a half. And I remind folks, we are a not-for-profit. We're a 501c6, but we do a lot of white hat stuff in the community. We just got through. We sponsored one of the contestants in Southern Oregon's Got Talent.
Good for you,
Bob Gervais.
Bob Gervais. Yeah. We sponsored, and the beneficiary there was CASA. Our golf tournament beneficiary was Redemption Ridge.
Right.
Our beneficiary from last year, we do stuff for Kids Unlimited. We're going to do Thanksgiving dinners for Kids Unlimited. So we do all these white hat events, and we need to find a way to pay for them. So what we do about every year and a half, we build a house, and our volunteers, many of our contractors volunteer. This one, Martinoff volunteered to be our contractor. The plans were drawn by Carrick Roberge of Whittle Construction. Our president, Gary Whittle, supervised the foundation activities. And it's a group project, and then we sell the house, and then the money that we get from selling the house, that's what we use to fund our outreach projects to the community.
That's really interesting.
Can you think of a better built home in the Rogue Valley than the one the guys on the Home Builders Association, but you got the all-stars of all of these phases of construction and development of a home. I mean, you got a quality product at the end there, I got to think.
Okay, see, now there's ought to be something to
What's
these
the MLS
things.
number on that? When's it coming on the market?
Just a second before you get down there. You buy land?
Yes.
Your 501c6 buys land, and then you plans put together and build a house.
Well, not exactly. Our HBA, we formed a C Corp.
Okay.
And then the C Corp buys the land, builds the house, sells the house, pays the taxes on the profits, and then what's left over, then that comes back into our general fund, and that's what we can use for our community outreach project.
And you're doing this right now in Eagle Point.
We're doing it right now in Eagle Point.
Is it finished? What's the status? Where's it at right now? The status of
it. We start framing tomorrow. We poured the foundation Monday. We're going to start the framing tomorrow, and it's probably going to be dried in a couple weeks.
And so, guys of the association, members come in and support. It's kind of like one of those reality TV shows. Yeah. What was that called? The house one here.
Yeah.
What was that? Remember people volunteered, came in and helped
build
it.
Extreme Home Makeover. Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful thing, and again, we aren't necessarily a service organization the way some people might think of, but the HBA, our local HBA, does an awful lot of nice things for the community.
Oh yeah,
and we do it in a way that we fund it all of ourselves.
See, that's what I like about that, Brad, is that you're not asking.
We don't ask anybody for money,
for donations and money to do these kinds of things. Say we're going to earn our money.
Go out there and earn it.
We do.
And what a better way to do that for the home builders than to build a house and say, hey, we can do this too. We're doing it with you. And we know, I'm sure you learn as your houses as you build them, what the problems are with the good things, the green this and those kinds of things, which makes a whole lot of sense. And then you get to fund the great things you do in the community as well.
And
I love that. I love that.
It makes sense. You got to have an S Corp attached to it to generate the profit and do that into the business to give back to the nonprofit. What a great setup.
Yeah, because
you must have some really smart guys down there.
We do. We have some smart guys that love to help their community.
Yeah, that is outstanding.
And home builders are in that area are into that because you have to have parks when you develop. Remember, you got to think community. You can't. Right. It's not just build a house and I'm done. I'm gone. But it is more. Well, it takes a village to build a community, or whatever that word you want to say there.
Anyway. Well, here's where I tell you guys what you already know, because a lot of our members. These guys are guys that have big hearts, and they're in it for the long haul. And the things that they do are to benefit the community, because this is the community that we all share together, and we know that if we help our neighbor, we're helping the community, and if we're helping the community, we're helping all of us.
Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that? All right, because someone may want to call you and say, "Hey, Brad, I got a question or something like that," and do you have an email address or something like that?
Yeah,
or how do you want to do?
Well, when you ask how you contact anybody anymore, there's I'm not on Twitter. I do have an email address, but our webpage our webpage is hbajc.com.
Okay.
And my email address is brad@hbajc.com. That'll
work.
And our phone number is 773-2872.
Well, the Home Builders Association, you can Google them and find them up, and Brad will be happy to answer your questions there. Joe, nice to visit with you as well. Lots of good shows still ahead on the Real Estate Show. We're off next week. It's the auction. We're back in 2 weeks. Hope you'll join us then. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Original Real Estate Show with Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys. For advice, guidance, or counsel on any of our topics, or to watch a replay of today's show, visit our website at realestateshoworegon.com. This show is sponsored by RE/MAX, Ideal Brokers of Southern Oregon, Ticor Title, All Cities Property Management, and the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District. We'll continue our weekly quest to enhance the value of your property and to make you a smart real estate consumer when we gather every Saturday and Sunday on KMED for the one and only Original Real Estate Show.